part 2 of the drum. In this section, we're going to cover how to model the top portions of the drum. We'll also cover how to import other models into the scene, and we'll put the drum together and save the file as one complete unit. So I'll go to new, and we're going to do the same process as we did with the drum, but this time we're going to start modeling from a different view. We're going to use the top view for creating the top portions of the drum. So I'll go to my top view, and here I'll import an image. So I'll go to View, Image Plane, Import Image, and I'll select the drum top. Same thing here. I'm going to deselect and then select my image so I can scale this to 2. And lastly, I'll go ahead and add this into a layer and create a reference so I don't have to, I don't accidentally touch it. Alright, so looking from the top view, I can see that there's 2 parts to this. There's the cap, and then there's the additional part that comes out from the drum, and there's one additional one here but smaller. So I'm going to go ahead and create those. There are 2 types of cylinders being used. We notice here we have a cylinder with less edges, and then this one would be a cylinder with more edges since it's rounder. So we'll do this first cylinder first and create it. So we use a cylinder same way as before. I want to move this down to the bottom, so I'll hold down D and V, bring this down. This time I'll hold down X. Now X is snapped to grid. If you notice, if I hold down X, it'll snap straight to the edge of the grid. From what I'm seeing here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 edges. So the best way to do this is go to Poly Cylinder, and we're say subdivision axis. I'll go ahead and bring this down to 8. And this is going to simplify the way the mesh is and allow me to create the correct topology. Next thing I'll do is I'll bring these vertices down. It really doesn't need to be too high up. And lastly, I will go to faces and delete the bottom faces. So you notice now that my mesh does not have a bottom, and that is because we don't want to waste topology. So if you have faces already in that area, then just delete the ones that are being covered. That way it doesn't calculate it in the runtime for the model. So I'll bring my image plane back, and from the top view I can now move this cylinder and I'll place it where it needs to go. Alright, you notice that I'm using movements and rotations So it's very important to understand how all this is done within space. Alright, I'll go to vertex from the front side, and I'll bring this down slightly again, right about there. Alright. The next thing I want to do is I want to select these faces up here on the top, and I'm going to extrude, hit W, R. I'm going to scale these in Q. And again, we'll delete every other edge. So we have quads. We'll start working on naming our objects as we make them. So this will be spout 1 underscore base. We can hit Control D for duplicate, and we can move this one out to the side, and we can name this one spout 2 underscore base. And this one I'm going to place in here. Now, again, just like before, the model is blocking the view, so here I'm going to go to shading, wireframe. Alright. I'm going to try to match the same height as this. Now, the way I did that was selecting all the vertices at the top, and if I hold down V and I drag up, but I drag towards the top of the other model, it will match the vertices on the top. Then I'll hit Q. Alright, so that one's done. Let's go ahead and create the additional portions that we need. So we'll create a new cylinder. We're going to need the geometry for this one. And again, we'll go to front, hit W, hold down D and V, and bring that down to the bottom. I can scale this down and then bring this up. As far as the faces, I want to take the bottom faces and delete those. And now that we have our gizmo at the bottom, we can hold down V, and we can snap straight to the surface of this other model, and it'll stay right on top. So from here, I'll go ahead and scale this and try to get a good representation. Alright, so our image is a little off, and it's probably due to an angle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to snap this to the center of the previous model. That way I have a correct amount of spacing. And from the front view, I can hit R and just scale down the top, because we're going to have to work our way from the bottom up. Alright, so we'll go to faces. I'll select the top faces here, and I'll extrude WR scaling, and we'll select every other edge. And delete. Alright. Alright, so it looks like we have a lip, and then the top goes, it gets tightened into that lip. Basically, that's where it gets screwed in. So, to represent that, we're going to actually increase the size of this. So I'm going to go to vertex and bring these vertices up. Okay. I'm going to multi-cut. I'm going to cut around here. And what I want to do here is, actually that looks like a, maybe bring it in some. Alright. And I'll go ahead and select these faces here. And I'll extrude this down. Okay. I'll hit Q. I'll extrude again. Q. I'll extrude again. This time I'll bring it up and over. Q. Extrude one more time. Bring it in. Alright, this creates that depression inside the geometry. And that's what we're going to be using to make it look like it's being threaded into the hole. Alright, so looking at this, we do have a lot of round bevels. So I'll work on that. I'll do a multi-cut, and I'll cut center here. Select these edges, and I'll bring these up slightly to round off the top. Let me look at the top. It looks like the top goes out again, so I'm going to have to multi-cut here. And I will have to select everything here and extrude and bring this in some. Alright. And then here we're going to have to do a center multi-cut. I'll bring this up slightly to round off the top. We'll do another multi-cut here. Bring this out. We want to center multi-cut one time, and then I want to multi-cut again just right above it. And this one I can scale out. Alright. If we look at our object, it's starting to look pretty good. Alright. The next thing I want to do is I want to create this shape. I'm not going to go too much into detail for this shape. I'm just going to create something basic. The way I can do that is create a cube. And you notice every time I import a new object, I always bring the gizmo down to the bottom. And this allows me to place the objects exactly where I need them. Alright, so for this object, I'm going to need to square it off. You notice that my overall gizmo here is not perpendicular to the object, so more likely it's an issue that I have here, and that's it. My axis orientation was in world. Now basically what that means is whenever you move an object, if you're moving it with the world, you're moving it based on front, side, and top. But if you change, so if you double click on this move window, and you change your orientation to object, now it's based on the way the object is facing. It just kind of helps me out when I manipulate the surface. Now, what I want to do is I want to go ahead and bring this out to its edges, and not really looking to get it perfect. I'm going to bring this down. And looks like we might have to go down into this. So if I hold down V, there we go. I'll be able to place it right on the surface of that other one. And again, I'm going to have to delete the faces underneath. So if I go to faces and just select these, and then unselect by holding down Control, the top one, I'll be able to delete the bottom. The next thing I want to do is, I see that it kind of goes into itself here some, so I'll go to multi-cut, center, and if I select these two groups of vertices and scale them in, I'll be able to start shaping it based on what I see. Alright. Now again, there's not really much, I don't really want to go too much into detail because we are doing something basic. So I'll go ahead and leave it like this, and we'll continue on with the rest. Alright, so here looks like I have pretty much everything I need. Alright, so we have the spout on base. We have spout 1 underscore plug, and then we have spout 1 underscore name this lip. Alright, so now that we have that, we'll go ahead and delete this guy here. We'll take all these meshes here, and we will go ahead and we can group them, and I'll name this group spout 1. You notice once I create a group, if I hit W, it moves the gizmo to the center of the scene, and I don't want that. I want to have my gizmo at the object, so we'll go to modify and center pivot. You notice now my pivot is at the object, and what I want to do is, like always, hold down D and V and bring this down to the bottom. And then we can duplicate this. So we'll duplicate this guy and bring him over to this side. Alright, so I have my two portions of the barrel. Alright, so we'll go ahead and, if we wanted to, we can combine them and make one single mesh out of it. We'll go ahead and do that. Don't really like combining everything like that, but we'll go ahead and do it. So I'll select spout 1, I'll go to edit, ungroup, and then I'll go to freeze transformations, delete history. And then I can select all three of these and go to mesh, combine. And I'll name this one spout 1. Actually, it's almost there. Alright. And we'll go ahead and delete history and transformations for that. I'll do the same thing with this guy here. I'll select the group, go to edit, and ungroup. And with all of them selected, I'm going to mesh, combine. We'll delete transformations in history and name this one spout 2. Alright. Okay, so lastly what I want to do is I want to go ahead and I want to work with these edges. There's a lot of hard edges here, so let's select the whole model. Well, no, I don't want to do that. We'll go to select this edge loop and select this edge loop, and we'll go to mesh display, soften edge. That worked a lot better. Alright, which other ones? Actually, it looks like these edges here. That's alright. I'm going to do the same thing to this one. Go to edges, select this edge loop, select this edge loop, and go to mesh display, soften edges. Alright, that worked a lot better. Actually, I should be able to get these here as well. Mesh display, soften edges. Yeah. And these as well. So I selected those and the ones in here. I go to mesh display, soften edges. Alright. This portion here, I'll go ahead and create a bevel here. The way I do that is basically I'll go up to where it says bevel here in the modeling toolkit, and I'll click on that. Now there's a couple of options that I'm going to have to work with to create a good bevel. So first of all, I want to decrease the fraction and maybe add an additional segment and hit Q. You'll notice now that we have a slightly better edge in this portion. And I'll end up taking these here and soften edge as well. Alright, yeah, that's better. Alright, here I just want to work on the ones I missed. So this outer edge, I want to create a bevel. Again, we're going to have to decrease the fraction and increase one segment. I'm going to select these edges that are running along the side of the model. Soften edges, and I'll soften this one here as well. Alright. Okay, so I have my two plugs complete. So I'll go to want to delete history, freeze transformations, make sure they stay in that same spot. And lastly, I'll go ahead and save this scene, so save as, and I'll put plugs and save it. Alright, I'll go ahead to open scenes. I want to open the drum. And within here, what I want to do is I want to import. So I'll go to import, and I'll import the plugs. Alright, and now we can just kind of place where we want. I want to bring this gizmo down to that edge there, and then snap this to the surface, and I'll do the same thing with this one. Alright, these guys look pretty big compared to this barrel, so what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and scale these down slightly. I'm going to try to keep them on this edge here, that way they're right across from each other. Alright, and yeah, that looks like a pretty good drum. Alright, so lastly I'll go ahead and at this point I can go ahead and delete the layers. And I can also delete the reference images. And I'll select everything, delete history, freeze transformations. And we have ourselves a complete drum. On the next video, we'll go ahead and cover how to texture our drum. So we'll be working with UVs and the UV editor, and we'll see if we work with Substance Painter. Do a little bit more advanced texturing than the regular Photoshop. Alright, so I'll see you on the next video.